Okay, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Planning Commission, city staff, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning Commission meeting for the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order on July 14th, 2022 at, wow, look at this, exactly 7 o'clock p.m. May we have a roll call?
Commissioner Stefan,
Here.
Commissioner Sims,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Shin,
Here.
Chairperson Dijonay.
Here.
Commissioner Cobian is excused from this meeting this evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Steffens will leave us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please, ma'am. Pledge allegiance to
There's my mic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner Steffens. Okay, so now we're going to move to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion.
second.
Okay, that's a motion by Commissioner Chin and a second by Commissioner Steffens. Can we start the vote? Are we going to electronic or do we have a roll call vote?
We're doing a roll call vote this evening.
Yep.
Commissioner Stefan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sims,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Shin,
Yes.
Chairperson Dijonay.
Yes. Okay, that motion carries 4-0. Okay, it looks like we're moving on to the public comments procedure of the meeting. So during the public comment period for each item, as well as during the public comment period for the items not on the agenda, each member of the public who has signed up to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. Any person wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under public comment section of the agenda or scheduled items or public hearings, must fill out a request to speak form at the door. You can find those right in the corner over there. The completed form must be submitted to the secretary prior to the agenda item being called by the chairperson. In speaking to the commission, members of the public may be limited to 3 minutes per person, except for the applicant for entitlements. The commission may establish an overall time limit for comments on a particular item or agenda item. Members of the public must direct their questions to the chairperson of the commission and not to the other members of the commission, the applicant, the staff, or the audience. Public comments. The next item is public items not on the agenda. Are there any speakers?
Yes, Chairperson. We have Roy Beckert.
Since this body got mentioned at the last city council meeting, and it's been an issue I've had, well, for decades, and many of us had, but it's been the last 8 months. We've had a running battle with the mayor, suppressing our right to speak, not following the rules on that, specifically on that. He even come up in the meeting when the reappointment of Dijonay and Cobain and the reappointment of Joanne Stefan, he didn't let some of us speak who wanted to come up here and congratulate this body, which I think the Planning Commission, in my view, has been doing a very good job. And I wanted to at least acknowledge those 3 that got reappointed and, say good job and keep up the good work. But he also mentioned something else, which was even more concerning to me. He said that in the rules and procedures that it is discouraged from the Planning Commission to come up to this body and make their voices heard as their right under the Constitution of the United States of free political speech and right to redress their grievances. I'm hoping, well, maybe some of the members in the audience and the planning commissioners themselves, which I know one of them usually shows up, would join me and encourage the council, which they did do a little bit of the mayoral procedures, but they need to refine their rules and procedures, the way they conduct the meetings, and that they follow this. And I would hope I would get your support, because I don't want to lose your guys' voice. And I want to hear your guys' opinion. And if you think the city council or something's going wrong, I don't want you guys to be intimidated by a city policy that discourages you from coming up to this very body and telling us what's going on. I've been around this public policy stuff for decades, and I've seen it done good, bad, and everything in between. But I tell you where it really gets hijacked is when we don't hear everybody's ideas, and then hopefully we, as you are entitled to do, is you hopefully take the best of the ideas and mold it in and do the best for all of us. That's how ultimately we will get the best outcome. So again, I hope some of the planning commissioners and some in the audience will come up in the next council meetings. And if they think the policies that have been going on in the city of Moreno Valley, especially to this and to free speech, hope you will join us in righting what I see as a very wrong going on in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
No.
Okay. Always thought that this was not right here. The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Now, my question would be, do we have to close the public comment section for speaking before moving on to the consent calendar?
No, there's no need to close the public comment section. We can just move from this point.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. All items under the consent calendars are considered to be routine and non-controversial and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the commission requests that an item be removed for separate action. Items withdrawn for report or discussion will be heard after the public hearing items. Questions or comments from the public on a consent calendar matter are limited to 3 minutes per individual and must pertain to the subject under consideration. Do we have any public comments?
Not at this time.
Okay, so now let's see. Item 1, minutes of the May 12th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. And we have a motion to approve the consent calendar in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 12th meeting as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion made by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner Chin.
I would like to recuse myself because I wasn't here for those minutes.
That's true. It's TPH. Okay, do we have
You
a?
kindly need to go outside the room. That I
Yeah.
just joking. Kindly.
Well, I guess we need a roll call.
Commissioner Sims,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Chin,
Yes.
Chairperson DeJournette.
Yes, that was an easy one. Okay, the motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a non-public hearing items. Item number 1, we're looking at establish an appointment for a subcommittee to review the Planning Commission rules and procedures. Can we have a staff report?
Thank you, Chairman. This item is a routine item for the Planning Commission, although we haven't done it in a few years. Every July, per the Planning Commission's rules and procedures, the chair of the Planning Commission is set to appoint a subcommittee of the membership to serve as a body in which to review the rules and procedures and to make recommendations for a future planning commission meeting on any items that they wish to amend within the rules and procedures of the commission. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions by commissioners for staff? Okay.
I guess none of us are rules of well, I do for my work, but at the end of the day, are we going to be guided would the subcommittee have guidance by the city attorney, or how does that? So I guess first of all, the current rules to compare against what the potential future rules could be to help us go through that process.
So yes, both city staff and the city attorney will be available to the subcommittee. Ultimately, city staff will work with whichever members are appointed to the committee to set up times where the committee can meet and confer to determine whether or not rules and procedures should be modified. They do not have to be modified. It is at the discretion of the subcommittee to make those recommendations.
So I would take it that there's regular meetings planned in order to review the rules and procedures?
We will schedule an introductory meeting with the subcommittee. And from that introductory meeting and those discussions, we will determine if further meetings are required, and if so, how many. And then from there, once the committee has come to a consensus, then that will be brought back to the commission for the full consideration of the commission on whatever rules and procedures amendments there are, again, if any.
Okay, so I take it at that time, at the introductory meeting, that's when you'll discuss when and where the meetings will take place?
Yes, being that it is a subcommittee, we don't have to agendize it or anything. Yeah, it does not need to be agendized, recorded. Steve, do you mind weighing in a little more on that, please?
Yeah, so under the Brown Act, if we have less than a majority of the planning commission that are put on it's like an ad hoc committee. It's a study committee. And so that committee can go off on its own and meet with staff, make the changes to the rules, but in order for it to be approved, it has to be on the agenda for approval by the board.
I see. So then once we do that, then it comes back to us for approval?
Yes.
Okay, is that a final act, or does it move up to the council?
It's a final action by this body.
Okay.
We'll make it as painless as possible.
I see that I can't remember the last time this was done, but it was a deal, but wasn't a big deal.
Any other commissioner questions for staff? No, doesn't appear to be. So at this time, because it is an agenda item, we will now invite the public comment on this topic. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this item. Do we have any public comments?
Not at this time.
At this time, we will move to establish a subcommittee with the chair making appointments. Hey, wait a second. Well, my question would be, first, is if anybody would like to step in and be on the subcommittee.
I'm always a firm believer for the people that aren't here, they get assigned the task. So Commissioner Kobiet would be my designated.
That's nice.
I'll volunteer if you'd like to appoint me.
Okay. So Commissioner Chan. With rules and policies and procedures, I wouldn't mind doing it myself. I would definitely like to be acclimated to that.
It has to, you said it has to be less than half, correct?
It will need to be only 2 members.
2 members.
2 members.
I think you got it.
That's that, anybody
Chair, vice
volunteer
chair.
and everybody steps back.
No,
Vice
you
We're
actually
standing up
said you
front.
wanted.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, well, it looks like I just made the appointment, so it looks like at this point in time, it'll be Commissioner Chen and myself to serve on the subcommittee for review of Planning Commission rules and procedures. I think Mr. Bleckert had some insight there. He already knew. That's very good stuff. Okay, so that's done. The next item on the, we don't have to close it. So the next item on the agenda, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the operation of a commercial cannabis dispensary within the existing 1,786 square foot suite within the Lakeside Plaza. Can we have a staff report?
The presentation this evening will be made by contract planner Matthew Evans. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Honorable Chair, members of the Planning Commission. So I believe the location has already been designated here. This is 24491 Alessandro Boulevard. It's at the southwest corner of Alessandro Boulevard and Indian Street. Oh, what's this one? Apologies. Okay, my apologies here. Yes, this is actually 25900 Iris Avenue. This is on the north side of Iris Avenue, approximately 300 feet west of LaSalle Street. It's in the Lakeside Plaza within the Moreno Valley Ranch Specific Plan District. So here you have the site plan. As you can see, you have, sorry, let me go back here. So the shopping center has 3 points of ingress and egress off of 2 points off Iris and 1 point off LaSalle Street. So here you have the floor plan. This floor plan, as I recall, the existing facility is 1,786 square feet. It has a lobby, a dispatch area, and a retail area, and a storage room within the facility. This is the elevation for the storefront. This is an existing storefront, and it would require a separate signage permit under the sign permit application. So the staff recommendation for this application, staff recommends that the Planning Commission take the following action and approve resolution number 2022-32, and thereby determine that the conditional use permit PEN 22-0063 is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act as a Class 1 exemption, Section 15301, existing facilities. And 2, approve the conditional use permit for a commercial cannabis dispensary based on the recitals, evidence, and findings set forth in Resolution 2022-32. And with that, I conclude my presentation. If there's any questions for staff, this would be the time that we could answer those for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Are there any commissioner questions for staff?
I have a question on the, in the section where it says site and slash surrounding area on page 2. It says a retail center is an approved legal non-conforming development and as proposed, the project's consistent. What does that mean?
The existing shopping center was built, and at the time it was built, you can see a line through it, and a portion of it was a different zone. It was some residential, but the shopping center was built. So even though that zone we have left there, it hasn't, because the shopping center is already existing, it makes it legal non-conforming for that section of it, for the whole back section of the building.
It's basically grandfathered the use.
So
after
they
the
did, so,
zoning was changed.
I mean, I know that this is just curiosity, but so they never cleaned up, did a change of zone or something to clean that up when they,
No, we didn't do that.
hey, can you, how far is this from the RCC Moreno Valley?
Know
Approximately
the
what,
exact
half
distance,
mile?
but it's at least a mile, maybe 2 miles.
And isn't there an elementary school on Camino Flores up a bit?
It is more than 600 feet away from any school or use.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other commissioner questions for staff?
So, we've been approving a lot of cannabis dispensaries recently, but in the recent past, has there, been any problems stemming from any dispensaries, within the past year?
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I've been working on this for the last couple of years, and I have not received any complaints with the existing ones that we have that are legal. Certainly, we do have a lot of security with these type of uses, so a lot of the we don't have a lot of these issues within there because of the security.
Thank you.
I have a question. This shopping center per se, is there a lot of crime in that area?
So we actually reached out to the Moreno Valley Police Department actually ahead of this meeting to ask if there was any concerns relative to crime in this area, and they found that this area was average, if not below average, for the city of Moreno Valley when it comes to crime.
Okay.
I guess this is there must be a master owner or master development that owns this whole retail shopping center. Is that true? Is it one ownership and they lease out space? Is that how this goes?
I'm not aware of the full ownership of the shopping center. Usually, I'm not seeing any parcel lines. And generally, if we're only seeing one parcel line, that's one ownership.
Has there been any opposition from any of the other tenant lessees or the property owner?
I have not had any comments from the lessee or the property owners.
Any other commissioner questions for staff?
Yeah, I think what Sims was saying is usually a shopping center is owned by one owner and then he ends up, or developer, and he ends up leasing out each building. Is there just one person that owns that whole shopping center per se?
I don't have that
Oh, no?
information. I would have to check. Again, I just went on the parcel lines. The bank on the corner is most likely privately owned.
Mhm.
But normally the inline buildings right there, Stater Brothers is probably its only owner because usually they own the buildings. But that's something we would have to check to verify for you.
At the end of the day, the proper notice was done to all the affected owners and the property was posted and all that.
That's-
So people had an opportunity. If they didn't like it, they could have came here today, submitted a letter or done something.
Yes, we did receive comments on the project. There are approximately 8 for this project that, but none of them appear to be from the owner. They are, pardon? Or from the existing tenants. We did provide those to you tonight. We did not get them prior to the agenda packet going out, so we did provide them for you this evening. 9. So there are 9 of them for this project.
Any other questions from commissioners to staff? Okay, with that, if there are no other questions from commissioners to staff, at this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, commissioners and city staff. I can actually answer your question. The property is owned by Guardian Capital. That is the landlord of the property. And we've been working as High Season with that landlord to make sure that this project works for everybody and all the tenants that are in that project and the surrounding area. So it is one owner for the continuous buildings and the units on the side. So hopefully that answers your question. It is one owner. There is a management company, obviously, that maintains that. In regards to High Season, my name is Gregory Paiva. We're the applicant. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer for High Season. What we're looking for is this project is a very small footprint. We're talking about 1,700 square foot cannabis retail. We have experience in the cannabis retail market. We have several other retails plus cultivations in other cities. We pride ourselves on one thing, mainly because I deal with it, is we are 100% compliant. Not only have we worked out deals with, of course, the security that we have, but our main thing is people were concerned about what they could see. This is a nondescript location. You cannot see inside unless you're inside the premises. We've made it clear that unless you're 21, you're not going in those premises. So the main thing we're looking for is no consumption outside the premises, no consumption in the parking lot. We have worked a deal with the landlord, since it's a very large parking lot, that we will take care of our vicinity to make sure there's no consumption, no trash, and there's security. The remaining parts of the parking lot, we have worked a deal that if there are issues, we will patrol the entire parking lot. We don't foresee any problems, but we want to make sure that we stay compliant and we take care of everything within the city. For the rest of that, I'll leave it open for any questions regarding our project.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
Thank you, sir. So while working with the management company and, you know, going through the process, have you seen any pushback or did you have to resolve any issues with any of the other tenants in that shopping center?
Actually, no. They actually welcome us. Based on our layout, and we can't really talk too much about security, but the security that we have will actually help the surrounding tenants. So they've welcomed us. They've had a few problems that they're hoping that the security will be able to take care of.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
What hours of operation are you going to be?
It will be the standard city hours. So most likely from 8 a.m. to, I don't know if it's 6 p.m. or 8 p.m.
Okay, so after that, there will be no sales.
No sales at all, no.
Okay.
However, not to disclose, but the security is always there.
Okay.
You know, there's a Stater Brothers parking. There's pizza places around, stuff like that. So I would take it there's going to be some type of signage to let people know that that business is there. Is that front just right in the front there, or does it go on is there a general marquee out front saying, you know, there's Stater Brothers Pizza Place, Bank of America, you know, and
that one, generally with the marquee, I know for sure there's going to be a sign on the front facade.
Mhm.
Whether we're going to be on that marquee would be up to the city of Moreno Valley. We at this point, we don't plan on putting one there. If we're allowed to do one, we will, but otherwise it will just be the facade.
My concern, and I know it doesn't have anything to do with you in particular, but we have approved several other dispensaries. And, you know, there are conditions of approval that say, you know, we can't put marijuana leaves out on the front and that sort of thing. However, I do see that then they end up with sign twirlers out in the front and they're spinning and then the sign twirler doesn't quite, that sign doesn't quite, it will have it on the sign. You know, the guy's out there spinning it around trying to get folks in. So you're not planning on having.
I can tell you as their chief compliance officer, that is the one thing that I can't stand. I will not have sign twirlers. We will not have, I don't know, we call them the breadboard signs out. Strictly sign on the facade is all I allow for my operations. I do not allow all those extra things. I know that brings in marketing. We don't believe in it.
Okay, so it's going to strictly conform to the aesthetics of the existing.
Correct.
Okay.
And we don't believe in using pot leaves and all that demonstration. We don't, our theory is it should be nondescript. You should not know what's in that building unless you're there for that purpose.
Okay, I like that. Any other questions for the applicant?
How many security guards are you going to have?
Without getting,
We actually
yeah,
can't,
okay.
we can't address that question.
Came back.
We thought you could slip that one in. Of course, just to be in disclosure for those in the audience, and we have gone over that we don't want to televise or put out the specific security information for any particular business. So that's those that wishing to be nefarious or commits. They say, "Oh, well, thank you for that information. We know they're not going to be there between this time or this time or this." So we don't discuss security issues. So the public out there, you understand why we don't do that.
Chair, may I add one thing to that?
Sure.
The other thing I would note is that ultimately all security plans are reviewed by the city's police department for compliance. That includes any cameras or other mechanisms by which they secure the buildings, and also the as part of the security plan, as well as part of the conditions of approval, there are requirements to allow for the city police and fire departments to have access to regular access to the building. And those are general conditions of approval as well, to ensure compliance with the security and safety plans associated with the business.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions for the applicant? Well, thank you, sir. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. We may be asking some other questions as this starts to unfold.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we'll open the public comment testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, Chairperson DeJournette, we have 2. So we have Fred Bonlos and Fa Shao.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad that my neighbors came. There's 3 of them, and they are against it. If they want to raise their hands here, they live on my street. All right, let's go. I'm not against cannabis dispensaries. What I'm against is the crime that they bring. We have a really great resource, Councilmember Ed Delgado, that when I helped him get elected, one of the things that he said is he's against dispensaries. I also want to let you know that I was trying to get in touch with a crimes information technician with the sheriff's department, but it was such short notice that I didn't have time to bring you guys proof of the crime that happens in these areas. Another thing that I did recently is I contacted the Valverde chief of police, Chief Clark, and I don't know if he got it to you, but he was going to send a letter of opposition because there's so many schools in that area. They're not that close within that 600 feet, but I believe there's 4 of them that are in that area that he was going to send a letter of opposition. The next person that was against it, I'm hearing secondhand info, was Dr. K from Moreno Valley Unified School District. He was supposed to send a letter to you guys as well. So I don't know if you received that. As far as safe, I almost got in a fight there twice with the homeless guy. So there's already problems to begin with. My wife doesn't like there to go at night. My son used to work there, and I used to have to go pick him up at night to make sure that he was safe. What you're just going to do is compound a problem that's going there. And again, I'm not against cannabis. What I'm against is the crime that's going to come to the area because it attracts crime. As far as the patrolling, he says he's going to patrol the parking lot. Their main goal is to patrol their marijuana and their money, not the rest of the parking lot. Because if what I would do, and I'll speak about security, I would come and divert them to create a commotion, have them come to me, and then I'm going to go over there and rob their place or steal their product. So their focus isn't, their security is not going to be the whole patrolling the parking lot. Let's see what else I have here. It's just it's a bad. Oh, I talked to businesses over there, at least 4 or 5 of them, and they didn't know anything about it. I didn't even see the sign over there, and I don't know if they can speak for themselves because they're usually managers, but they didn't like it. They feel that that's going to hurt their business. The homeless people are already hurting their business to begin with, so it's just a bad area. I would like to see these approved in one general area for everybody can just go to get their marijuana. And you got this little street joke that instead of Sunnymead, call it Sunnyweed. Get everybody all in one location. Don't spread it all over the place because it's just not safe for us there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Shao?
Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I and my husband came today, and before we came, we talked to our neighbors. They have not received any notice, the hearing notice, so they missed the chance to speak out at this place. Okay. Anyway, we spoke to most of them. They are against the project. So I'm representing my family and some of the neighbors, okay? We are against very, very strongly. First of all, it's like the gentleman said, there are 4 schools right next to each other. So when they walk into the school, they must pass that store, the future store. So the young people is a generation to come. If they are curiosity for some other reasons, they are attracted to that marijuana. So what the effect will be? The school teacher has no control. The parents has no control. So who is responsible for the future bad results? It's bad for the kids. Like we say, vaping, nicotine is bad, but where marijuana is 100% worse. We don't want to see that in that location. That's for future generation, for all the people surrounding it. And I agree with the gentleman. We already have the dispenser somewhere there in Moreno Valley. They can group everything together under the government control. So if you have all these scattered here and there, you say you have security, you have this measures, if you have that much, nobody can control. The city spend a lot of tax money to drive away the homeless, and that will bring them back. Okay, this is security things for us too. And also, I spoke to 2 vendors in that plaza already. I said, have you heard of this? Do you like it or do you support it? Welcome, like the other gentleman said, welcome the business. I don't think so. They said, no, they don't like it. So our concern is the safety of the people nearby. That like you have security, are they armed? The security people they're armed. We have a lot of shootings nowadays. You never know what's happening if that store starts. So they will be out of control, I tell you. So the last thing is I thank the city management to keep the homeless issue away from our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Not on this item.
So at this time, see, I think that's not in there. We close the public comment section. Oh, no, that's right. Do we have the applicant would like to make any additional comments? I noticed that's not on here.
Just to address the concerns of those that spoke, our whole goal is to help that center. If homelessness is a problem in that center, our goal is to take care of that. And I know those have spoken in the audience. It's progressively correct. If you look at our history as high season, we have an operation in Paris and in Adelanto. Those two centers and those two areas had the same problem. That no longer exists within our perimeter. We no longer have that issue in that area. We take security very seriously. We take children not being near that area very seriously. That's why we even have a community liaison that can deal with the public if they have problems or they see something. We want to represent and make sure the city doesn't have any issues and the community does not have any issues with what we're doing there. That is the exact reason why we stay nondescript. We don't put pot leaves, we don't put signs out for that purpose and for that reason. The security, I mean, I wish, so the audience has an understanding, the security protocols that the state and the city require from us are very stringent. We are a highly regulated industry that requires a tremendous amount of security and a lot of regulations. So we follow those to the T and we make sure everything is taken care of the way it should be.
Thank you.
Wanted to add a comment. This particular project does comply with all the city's zoning regulations, use regulations. They also have to obtain a regulatory permit from the city. And after this, if this conditional use permit is approved, they have to go through the state process to get a state license. And at that phase, the state imposes a lot of conditions on them as well.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll close the public comment section and like to move into deliberations.
Want to ask staff a follow-up?
What do you?
We can ask, but the public hearings.
Yeah.
Yeah, the public hearing part is closed, right?
I'd like to ask if I
So sure, you can ask staff a question
You'll want to actually reopen the public hearing
or a question
for
towards
the
staff.
questions to staff, yes,
Okay.
before you close it for deliberation.
Well, let's reopen the public comment section so that Commissioner Chin can ask a question for staff.
Thank you. Okay, so conditions of approval 37 says licensee shall prohibit loitering by individuals outside the licensed premises or anywhere on the property. Does that clarify whether it's a customer, homeless person, someone walking by, stopping? Is it, or is that it's just persons? Anyone loitering in that area, security or the establishment is in charge of moving them along?
It covers everyone. It's not specific to customers of the business in question this evening.
Okay. Sir, if I can just ask, so nondescript, what do you plan on having on your window door front to keep everything inside out?
If the floor plan was back up, there is a main door into the location that is going to be covered where you can, the only thing that you would see in if there's no blinds on the door would be another wall with a receptionist desk. There will be no pictures, diagrams, anything on those walls. The only place that cannabis product will be visible is once you're able to get into the main entrance through the next set of doors into the retail floor.
Okay. You guys usually, I mean, is it just, that film that you can see out, but you can't see in? Is it just something like that, just totally black or solid color? Do you put pictures on it or something?
Well, we don't want to put any pictures on anything. So what we'll do is we'll make sure it's like a frosting so you cannot see through it.
Okay, thank you.
Right. If I remember correctly, you have Stater Brothers there. Then there's a cleaners. Should be to the left of that property. Yeah, there's a cleaners right there. And if I'm looking at that correctly, it should have been right next to, I think there was
There's a cleaners, a nail store, a eyebrow threading.
Right.
And then there is
the AT&T store. AT&T was right there.
Correct,
So
and
these are
there's-
small.
very small units. The
Mhm.
AT&T store is bigger, but right next to the AT&T store is currently a substation for the police department.
I see.
I
Right
don't know if that's staying but it is currently it's a substation.
So with that particular unit, you're almost basically just looking at a door.
We are, yes.
Yeah, not like a big pane window.
No, we're in a corner. What the previous use was it was like a learning center.
Mhm.
That it was for after school for kids to do tutoring. It was a tutoring center. So it's a small location. It's 1,700 square feet, and we're in the corner. You can't really see us from the parking lot until you walk up on it.
I see. All right, thank you.
Robert.
Any other questions?
That's
It's been a while, but my understanding from the ones that were approved prior is that if they do not follow any of the rules and regulations, they will be shut down.
If they do not follow the rules and regulations of the city, what we will do is we will ultimately bring forward an action to actually revoke the conditional use permit, which would be subject to a hearing and would come back before this commission for action. Now, there's steps in that process that need to occur. And I see Steve next to me getting ready to chime in, so I'm going to leave that to him.
And we can also prosecute them.
Okay, so just so the public knows that there are very stringent rules that have to be followed. And if they're not, they can be subjected to be closed down. And I don't know if that substation is going to be there, but that sounds kind of pretty good. So that was my question there, was if it still applied, because I didn't know if anything had changed. Okay.
Just as, so if this gets approved, so this would have a cannabis operation there. So does that preclude, I guess my question would be like a nursery school or a private tutoring facility or a private go learn how to play guitar or something like that, where you would have a permitted license, a license company, a city a license to operate a business where there will be children, or there will be, would that prohibit that kind with this use approval in the shopping center? Does the 600-foot apply to things like that as well?
The 600-foot applies to the separation distance of this operation from such a business. So if there was one existing within the center today, we would not be able to bring this before you. However, there is no prohibition for any of those types of facilities that you've identified to locate themselves next to an established commercial cannabis business. It doesn't work the other way.
Oh.
So if they are okay with being within that 600 feet, they are permitted to do so.
You put Montessori right next to the cannabis shop.
Yes, you can, but you cannot put a cannabis next to a Montessori.
All right.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Acknowledge and accept. You know what you're getting into then. All right. Got it. Thanks.
All right, any other questions?
One
Go
more,
ahead.
one more, sir. So going back to a public comment on some of the businesses that aren't, interested in it. When you were going through that process, did you and the management reach out to the individuals working at the establishments or to the company itself? And they were all fine with it?
No, we strictly deal with the main tenants. We have to deal with whoever signed the lease and whoever has that lease right. So that's specifically who we dealt with the management company to make sure that everybody would be okay with that location.
Okay. So the Allstate and Lakeside Dental, the owners are okay with it.
Correct.
Okay.
The owners that are listed as the true tenant on the lease. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That makes sense. Any other questions for commissioners, for staff?
Well, it's not a question. I just wanted to make a statement. Well, a lot of people don't really care for the cannabis, and it was voted in, and they are legally allowed to be in the city.
Commissioner Stefan, I would,
Deliberation.
that would be deliberation point.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff or the applicant? One more. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to close the public comment sections and let's move into deliberation. And since you were already there.
There, I'm way ahead of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't really like the idea of having cannabis in Moreno Valley, but the thing is it was voted in, and for better or for worse, we've got to deal with it. We've already gone down, opening up quite a few. I know that a lot of people don't want it in their backyard. I didn't want the first one in my backyard next to Stater Brothers up there on Pigeon Pass and Ironwood, and it's a huge one, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. And as long as they follow all the rules and all the regulations, it's almost like we can't not allow them to do business in the city. And that's the sad fact. Now, if there is an issue and the residents do see something that is not done legally, they can always address it. It's just a sad fact that a lot of people don't want it, like they say, in their backyard, but it's got to be somewhere. And this has been approved. This is a place that it can be. And so, I mean, we're just going to have to see how everything goes. I do feel for the residents in that area, because it's a scary proposition. Like I said, when the first one went up, I don't live very far from that one. And I was a little hesitant, and there was, kids that do walk home from school, and but they got to be 21. You got to go through 2 doors. They can't really use signage. They can't really show what they're going to be selling. And believe me, people will know that do buy it. And most people just buy and leave. They're not loitering because they can't. So I hope that some of the residents, that do have concerns, once it's up and running, like I said, and they see an issue, it can be addressed at that time.
Okay.
I could go, I a lot what Commissioner Stefan said is exactly right. This is, whether you like it or not, or the city adopting within its municipal code to allow. There's a chart in here. There is a lot of them, and of different dispensaries and cultivations and whatever. And we have a saturated approval of cannabis operations along Sunnymead Boulevard. I refer that as Cannabis Row. There's Cannery Row in Monterey. We have Cannabis Row in Sunnymead. The only thing that gives me any kind of sense that this is okay is that there is strict regulations on this where you have to be 21, and there is somebody sitting at the door. So it's, the kids that come to school, go to school and try to grab liquor or something, like grab their Truly for their morning break to get to school. That could happen at a liquor store. Here, it's much more, guarded and so I don't have as big a concern about that, but anyhow, if it's in a legal, if it's in a appropriate spot, it's hard to say no to these things.
Yeah, so I know it's tough. I mean, we've been putting them all on Sunnymead and keeping them all to one designated location. But if the square peg fits the square hole, it's kind of hard to say no, and that's how I feel. Silver lining is it's not an end cap, right? It's more isolated. You got to, really be searching for it to find it. I think that working with the property owner or the management company to, venture out of your, your front porch and be willing to assist with patrolling, more of the parking lot. I think that's, good on the company. Appreciate that. That's very neighborly, right? And we want to make sure that we're keeping a safe community and, like the fellow commissioners have said, if anything's going wrong, city has authority to come in, revoke, and, ask them to move on. And at that point, money lost. And it's really up to them to make sure that the homeless are keeping, out of that area. Anyone who's there for wrong reasons, there's going to be eyes that are specifically there to look out for, bad doers. So I think that having security there would be a great thing. I understand it's not too far from a school, but it's not within the distance that would require us to vote no. So it's tough. I live near the other one off of Ironwood and Pigeon Pass, and I've never seen any issues with them. And they're a huge facility, and we even some of the little ones you pass by, and I don't think I've ever seen any problems. And like staff has said, there's been no problems. Nothing has arisen from having a dispensary. And on contrary, there's been less crime in those areas because of the police monitoring and the security. So, I don't find too much that's wrong with this, except that it's in a place that we're not normally approving them.
As a side note, I was checking myself about, something like this in a pre-existing shopping center. I think you can't be part of the problem on this one because we did it without you, but we just approved the one in the Sundance Center. So so that would be a very similar type situation here for all the reasons we.
I concur, wow. I with the public comments, we take every public comment into consideration, and we do listen, we do hear them. I guess I could say, wow, trying to go down this gently. In the past, there were discriminatory acts that would prevent certain people from coming in and being able to even buy homes. And without rules and regulations, then we can be subjective, and we can prevent certain things from coming into our city just because we don't like it. And then that ends up being very subjective, and it can also be considered to be a discriminatory act. Once a company comes in and says, I want to come to a city and I want to do business there, and they cross the I's, they dot the T's, they follow the laws, they follow the procedures, they follow everything they're supposed to. Just understand that this governing body, planning commission, we would have to really find something within this plan or something within it that's breaking one of those rules or laws or something else other than we don't like it. We cannot expect a company to come in, which would be great. I wish we had that a company could come in, place a security guard there and solve all the problems in that area. That'd be great because I'd hire that place all over the place and we'd solve all the homeless problems. We'd solve all the crime. We'd solve all the stuff with that cookie cutter, being a cookie cutter ideal to be able to say, we're going to clean up Marina Valley. We'd just duplicate his business several hundred times and there would never be any crime. That's probably not going to happen. Or this company is not going to come in and all of a sudden nothing is going to happen in the Stater Brothers parking lot or the parking lot that governs Bank of America or the pizza place or something like that. So just have to be careful with that. I don't see any reason or any not to approve it. So just for me in particular, I'm for the project. Do we have, if there aren't any other deliberations going, do we have a motion in a second by any chance?
I'll do it.
Oh, okay.
I make a recommendation that, or I make a motion that the planning commission approve resolution number 2022-32.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion made by Commissioner Sims and a second made by Commissioner Chen. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Stiffen,
Yes.
Commissioner Sims.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Shin,
Yes.
Chairperson Dejanay.
Yes. Okay, so the motion carries 4-0. Can we have a staff wrap up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee. If any appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council.
Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to item number 2, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit, for the operation of a commercial cannabis dispensary within an existing 2,445 square foot existing site, suite. Can we have a staff report?
The presentation this evening will be again made by Matthew Evans, contract planner. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And good evening, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The project before you tonight is a conditional use permit for the operation of a commercial cannabis dispensary called Shango. It's located at 24491 Alessandro Boulevard at the southwest corner of Alessandro Boulevard and Indian Street within the commercial mixed use district. So the two existing driveways to the site, there's one off of Alessandro Boulevard and the other is off of Indian Street. These driveways provide access to the project site. As proposed, the project will occupy an existing retail space. No additional parking is required. The project will be required to upgrade the parking lot to include a slurry seal and restriping of the parking stalls. The existing landscaped areas will be replanted as necessary, and additional landscaping and improvements will be provided along Alessandro Boulevard and Indian Street frontages. For the floor plan, the proposed tenant improvements include modifications to the existing floor plan by adding new full-height wall partitions to establish a lobby, dispatched area, retail area, and storage rooms. Again, this total square footage for this particular project is 2,445 square feet, encompassed with all that you see here. As far as the elevations are concerned, the existing building will be unmodified with exceptions to any requested repairs. A condition was added for the applicant to remove all lighting mounted on the rooftop. So there will be no rooftop mounted lighting on this building as part of the conditions of approval. Staff recommendation, staff recommends the Planning Commission take the following action, and that would be to approve resolution number 2022-34 and thereby determine that the conditional use permit PEN 22-0037 is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act as a Class 1 exemption for existing facilities, and approve conditional use permit 22-0037 for commercial cannabis dispensary based on the recitals, evidence, and findings set forth in resolution 2022-34. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any commissioner questions for staff? I think we ran a few questions on the last one there. No questions? Oh, there we go.
This is the same dispensary that is open on Ironwood and Pigeon Pass in the Stater Brothers parking lot that we were mentioning with the last resolution, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And they've been good to our city thus far. No problems, no incidents.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions for staff at this time? Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening. Just as Vice Chair Chen mentioned, yes, we are the Shango that operates off of Pigeon Pass and Ironwood. So I kind of wanted to give you some facts since we have been operational. We were the first dispensary to open in the city back in March of 2020. Since our opening, we have generated $775,000 in tax revenue that's been paid to the city. We have generated over $40,000 in community benefit fees that have been paid. In addition to that, I like to talk about what we do for the community here. During COVID, it was really tough. We reached out to our partners up north in the farms and developed a program where they would donate cannabis that we could request donations of canned goods from consumers. And we did that all throughout COVID, and that afforded us to bring over 4,000 pounds of canned goods to a church here in the city. We've also supported the Salvation Army with over 15,000 in donations during the holiday times for families in need, the kids that don't get gifts. We employ over 50% Moreno Valley residents in our current operation. 99% of our staff is employed through Riverside County. In this operation, I also want to focus on security. I do understand it's a concern. I hear that. It is a common misconception that cannabis brings crime. Legal cannabis operations typically do not. They typically help that crime rate. I can give you a few examples. I worked with the Riverside County Sheriff on 3 cases. Using our cameras, they've been able to apprehend criminals or potential criminals, one of those being a fatality hit and run. They were able to come and sit next to me, view our cameras, and determine that they did have the correct suspect that actually ended up going around the corner and switching seats in the car and coming back in the parking lot. So they were able to use our camera to determine that and to bring justice to the individual that was passed. Our security guards are 24 hours. I won't disclose a whole lot more about security, but they do focus on no loitering consumption, making sure there's no children on premise. They will also cover the entire area in the parking lot. We have a liquor store that's adjacent to us. So I hope that that will actually bring some more safety to that area and allow more safe business operations for the liquor store. That's it.
Well, thank you. Are there any commissioner questions for the applicant? None? Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So at this time, we will open the public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has requested to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on this agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, Chairperson, we have 2. Fred Balos. Bashao.
I'm just waiting for the timer to start, you guys. I can see it. Who's in charge of the timer?
Media, would you mind changing the screen for us, please?
All right, here we go. I got to stay focused on this topic. I can't really talk about the other one, I guess. But you guys have a great resource with our council member, Ed Delgado, who's in law enforcement. When he was running, before he was a council member, he specifically said that they bring crime to the area. So I'm kind of, wondering what happened. But, again, also with the chief of police of Valverde, wanting to put I don't want to talk about that. I probably can't talk about that one because it's different, but there's crime, and you may not see it, but they are privy to more information than you have. They know what's going on. They talk to their deputies, and the crime is there, whether it's getting reported or not, or whether they say that they have these things that they're finding out with the sheriff's department. I'm not happy about these places. They need to be in one area. I see some in Paris. They're all by themselves, all brightly lit up. And if they have any crime, it's going to be contained within that area, not in a shopping center where other things can go bad. There's always the threat of people going there to get the cash, because there's a lot of cash. They just deal with the cash, with the product. And in regards to security, again, if I'm a bad guy, I'm going to say, you know what, let me cause a disturbance loitering over here. And guess what? Now your security is focusing on me, where my other team can go over there and steal your product. It's just, I'm going to sit here and what I'm going to do, because it's in my backyard. This one's a little bit closer, and I apologize. I wish they would have approved yours instead of the one that's next to mine, and conditional permits. I'm going to be watching you. I'm going to be watching you. And I'm going to find out that if you're not doing something right, we're going to get that permit pulled. I'm sorry, I'm not against cannabis in general. I'm against the crime that it's going to bring. And you say there's no crime. Well, I'm going to find it and prove you guys wrong that it happens. You got to remember that although the state of California made it legal, the federal government has it illegal. So the main thing that I'm concerned about is the crime that comes to the area. So with that, I hope I can prove you guys wrong. And I'm sorry that I'm going to be watching you guys. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other speakers?
Fa Shao.
Or walk out? There's one on the list that says speaker.
There's no other speakers if she's left.
Yeah, I see her name, and then after that, then it says speaker. Are there no other? Okay. At this time, would the applicant like to provide any additional information?
I want to address a couple issues that the speaker brought up. As far as cash on site, we are fully banked, have well-established banking relationships. Cash is removed from the building daily by armored transport. So that should not be an issue to deal with. And as far as compliance goes, I know Manny can probably attest to this, as well as some other city officials. We are inspected routinely. In fact, we're inspected quarterly. I've worked very closely with Lana Jimenez, as well as others in the department, including Brian Mohan, to help them actually establish their inspection protocols, gave them suggestions as they work with HDL, but I work closely with the city officials. We're always an open book, an open door, and we're there to educate and learn from one another. That's all.
Thank you. Any other commissioner questions of staff or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve, I don't know if you can answer this for me. If there's a project that comes forward, it fits, the criteria, it meets all the requirements, and we disapprove it based off of opinion or personal feelings, what are the ramifications of that?
First of all, you can't approve something because of personal feelings. We have to basically go by the book. And so in this particular, what are the ramifications? A lawsuit. That's what's going to happen. And what the judge is going to be looking for is whether or not we came up with rational, fair reasons for denying the project based on our municipal code.
Thank you. And then after, if this one is approved and the citizens don't like it, they do have time to appeal that decision.
Yes, they have the opportunity to appeal this decision to the city council.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to ask the applicant, how many times have you been robbed, or even has anybody ever tried to rob you in the 2 years that you've been up there?
Any other questions for Commissioner by staff or the? Okay. At this time, I'd like to close the public testimony section and move into deliberations.
I'll go first. Mr. Benuelos, thank you for your comments tonight. In regards to that, I encourage our community to watch. I mean, that's a great thing. When I don't take that as a threat, as far as we're going to watch you, we're going to, we're going to find the crime, because if you and every other person who visit that shopping center or this location here is looking for crime, that's additional eyes each and every time, and that's a good thing, I think. So I encourage that. I welcome that. So thank you for volunteering to keep an eye out on these facilities and make sure that crime is not relevant in those areas. I think this location here, I mean, it's a small location, liquor store next door. There's nothing else. I mean, it's right in front of a giant dirt lot. So I don't think that it's going to affect anything other than itself at this location. So it meets all the criteria. It's been a good business in our community thus far, as you've said and spoke about the revenue and the resources you've provided. So I don't see anything wrong with rewarding a good business with another location, specifically, since they have done a great job with the crime and with making sure that their lack thereof, right, and they're doing everything the right way.
All I can say is we do have a lot of crime in the city without, the cannabis per se. That is not the crutch of our crime in the city. And I was really impressed with the fact that she said that the police have access to their cameras, so they'll be able to even get people that are committing crimes in the area. They've got a liquor store right next door. I think that's a little more prime to get robbed than the cannabis building themselves. So they got cameras, they're going to be able to utilize that. And as Commissioner Chan said, which I already knew, that unless there's a viable reason, we can get sued for not letting something come in that basically we have no specific reason not to. And a lot of times the residents don't realize that. And our personal feelings cannot come into play. And there's a lot of, like I said, maybe somebody doesn't like cannabis, but that doesn't mean we have any reason to not approve a business from coming in. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. I concur with both commissioners there. And with that, I'll piggyback on that just a little bit. As we were watching the news lately, we would notice that there were quite a few 7-Elevens that have been robbed. Matter of fact, 8 in one city, 6 in another. And does that mean we don't build another 7-Eleven? I happen to work in the school district, and we have to have officers stationed at the school site because the amount of crime that happens at a school. Do we not build any more schools? Liquor stores get robbed. Do we stop building home invasions? Do we stop building houses? Cars get robbed. Do we stop making houses? No, we don't do that. We understand that there is a risk. Anytime that there's cash going into a business, there's always a risk that could be involved, that somebody may see that carrot dangle in front of their face and say, yes, we want to go in there and rob the place. And that is not including convenience stores. Well, gosh, even Walmart has the lock up their liquor so that they don't have. But do we stop building Walmarts? No, that's not the case. Or do we say we're going to watch every Walmart, or we're going to watch every liquor store, or watch every 7-Eleven to make sure that they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's? I think marijuana does bring a stigma in, and people feel a certain way about it, and they're going to treat those businesses differently. Then I'd caution us for that, for doing so. Again, without any legal basis or anything that I could look when I look through the project to say, well, they didn't follow this correctly, or didn't do this correctly, or didn't follow this law, policy, or procedure. I would say that I'd also vote for the project.
I'm not going to get into the whole thing. This meets all the criteria, so it looks like it needs to be approved. But at the end of the day, the crime and this and that, I mean, we can go on and on, but it's not cannabis. It's not just cannabis. It's not just 7-Elevens. It's a more of a structural problem when we have legislation approved in our state that makes crime pay. You could just take $950 and not have to worry about getting in trouble. And you wonder why there's homeless people just go and steal and sell and do. There's just a whole thing. So anyhow, but that's another issue for other issues. So I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, that'd be great. And if there's any other. No? Okay. So we have a motion on the front.
I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission approve resolution number 2022-34.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner Steffens. Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Steffens?
Yes.
Commissioner Sims?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Chin?
Yes.
Chairperson DeJournette?
Yes. Okay, the motion carries 4-0. Do we have a staff wrap?
Yeah, the action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee. If an appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3. On the agenda, the applicant is requesting a plot plan approval for the development of 164,187 square foot light industrial building. Do we have a staff report?
The presentation this evening will be made by Senior Planner Julia Dakota.
Hi, good evening, Planning Commissioners. As you stated, the project before you this evening is a plot plan for a 164,187 square foot light industrial building. The project is located on the northeast corner of Day Street and Alessandro Boulevard. The project zoning is Business Flex, and the purpose and intent of the Business Flex is to provide for a range of business activities involving production, distribution, or repair with supporting office and commercial space. Permitted uses include light industrial, research and development, warehousing, and distribution, among other automobile service and repair and other uses consistent with the plan. The surrounding uses, there's R3 to the north and to the east. There's Business Flex to the west, and also further northwest is Business Park as well. Industrial uses are located across the street on Alessandro on the corner there, and there is some community commercial there as well. Okay. On the site plan, we have the 164,000 square foot building. Access to the site is from 3 driveways. One of them is on the east side of the project off of Alessandro. That's a right in, right out for automobile parking or automobiles. The other entrance is along Day Street, and that will be the truck access. And it's truck only in that area. It goes into the truck court. And then on the north side on Sherman, there is automobile access only. The setbacks for the project include 20 to 30 feet on Alessandro Boulevard. Day Street is 20 feet, and the Sherman side is 65 feet, which includes the landscaping, parking, fire lane, and additional landscaping next to the building. The parking for the site meets and exceeds the municipal code requirements. There are 151 automobile parking spaces provided and only 99 required. And there are 23 to 28 parking spaces for the trucks. The truck court is 250 feet from the residential zone, which is a requirement of the industrial zone, but we applied it to this project as well. The proposed light industrial building is a contemporary architectural design. There's smoky blue tower elements and providing a focal point with the prominent vintage wood fiber siding sections. There's glass mullions, gray tinted windows, and metal awnings. The elements are included on the side elevations as well for the continuity of the building, and the colors with off-white, taupe, and warm gray provide a background for the vintage wood siding and flat metal awnings above the painted area, which breaks up the massing of the buildings. Extensive landscaping is provided along the building frontage in addition to the required setback area. Landscaping will include ground covers, street trees, and on-site trees and plants. This provides you the elevations for all four sides so that you can see the continuity and all the elements coming around all four sides. As I mentioned, the landscaping is on all four sides. The project was noticed, the environmental is a mitigated negative declaration. There are mitigation measures recommended for the approved project that are biological, cultural, geology, and soils. And just a note that the tribal resources have been included to address input from the consultation we have with the tribes, but they're intended to ensure that if something is discovered, that it's protected. The measures are put in there, but not required as actual mitigation. Well, they are mitigation measures, but there's no known artifacts on the site. The notice of availability began on June 16th, 2022, and ended on July 6th, 2022. And we did have approximately 8 letters that came in, and those were provided to you in the packet. The property was property noticed per the municipal code requirements. And at this time, staff recommends that the Planning Commission take the following actions by approving or adopting 2022-33 for the initial study mitigated negative declaration and adopt the mitigation monitoring program, and that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2022-35 with the attached conditions of approval. At this time, the applicant, the environmental consultant, and I'm also here to answer any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Are there any questions for Commissioner, for staff?
Very kind of you. Okay, so on Pepper, houses on Pepper, what's going to be, what's the wall height, right there?
The wall height between the residential will be about 8 feet.
8 feet, okay. Okay. And so in here, I see that inbound trucks can come off of Day, whether it's southbound or northbound there. And then I see that outbound trucks will be prohibited from making right-hand turns and to go up towards like Eucalyptus. Is that still the conceptual idea on that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we got houses right across the street, and my main concern are those cars that park there. And what's gonna be put in place to ensure that those cars are not affected from these trucks making those left-hand turns or coming down, south on Day Street, because you can going down there right now, you see a lot of the cars are sideswiped or rear-ended. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with substance abuse, but when you have trucks coming down there that are very large, want to make sure we protect those residents that were there first. So can you just tell me a little bit about what we're doing to mitigate any risk factor to those cars and those homes there?
So a couple of things to note is that the project is limited to a right-in movement only, which does limit the access into the site front to just coming from Alessandro. It will not allow for southbound truck traffic to enter into the site along Day Street there. Additionally, it should be noted that the truck traffic in terms of exiting the site, based off of the design of the exiting, also actually limits it to a left out only from the site, directing traffic back southerly to get back to Alessandro quickly along the limits of the project frontage. So there will be different design mechanisms in place with that driveway to restrict the access to be just from Alessandro Boulevard on today.
Okay, thank you. And the loading docks are going to be they're facing Day Street, and those are going to be the only loading docks. There's not going to be none that will take the vehicle or the trucks back to the homes on Pepper.
That's correct.
Okay. Right. Grading, if they find anything, they'll stop automatically and bring in
Yes.
everyone and make sure everything's good to go.
They
Right?
will have tribal monitoring and archaeological at the site.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions?
I have quite a few.
Okay, go ahead.
What are the hours of operation? Is this going to be a 24-hour operation?
There are no limitations placed on this use.
Okay. All right. And can you confirm the existing zoning for the project site?
Business flex.
When and how did that zoning become on that piece of property?
Business Flex was designated on that site as part of the 2021 update or adoption of the city's comprehensive general plan and zoning code.
Okay, I did pull out the general plan, and specifically on that, it says that property is a corridor. Well, I guess before I get into all that, it's my understanding this project is owned by the city, right, through the Housing Authority. Is that correct? The city is the owner of this through the Housing Authority, which is some kind of.
The Housing Authority is it is a separate agency from the city of Moreno Valley, but it is operated through the same city staff and is ultimately one of the positions that it's one of the city council sits as the acting body of it.
That's right. So if there is the Housing Authority has to have a public hearing, it's the same people as the city council is on the Housing Authority. So the city owns this piece of property. It controls the disposition of this property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's my understanding back on May 26th of 2009 that the city entered into a disposition and development agreement. The Housing Authority did. Is that correct? For a 225 lot multifamily housing unit on this. Yes,
I would have to go back and look at the
did.
record, but the thing I would note and the reason behind the change of zone is because this property is actually located within a crash safety zone associated with the March Air Reserve Base. Therefore, the residential units would not be able to be developed at the density, which is the reason that the city housing authority is disposing of the property at this time.
I disagree with that. I did pull up, I went to ALEX, the Riverside County Airport Land Use, and specifically in their compatibility maps for the Moreno March Air Reserve Base. There is an exception site, number 4, which is the Alessandro Affordable Housing Site.
That was subject to the approval of a development agreement, which was never approved. That was subject to the approval of a development agreement, which was never acted upon or approved by any agencies.
But suffice to say, pursuant to the Riverside County's ALEX, that there's no termination on that. So housing can be developed in that area.
Subject to all agencies agreeing on a development agreement, which has never occurred.
Okay. So the city did not sign a development agreement for approval of this on May 26th of 2009.
No agencies have.
Say that one more time.
No agencies have. Not just the city of Moreno Valley, no agencies have.
I guess I'm not hearing well.
You would need ALUC as well as other agencies to sign that development agreement as well. It is not solely the city of Moreno Valley.
It's specifically within the compatibility.
It's a multi-party agreement, development agreement that would need to be signed.
Suffice to say, the property was considered by our housing authority for 225. It went through a process. It went through to get an exception at the ALEX for the crash zone it's in a C1 zoning. I just want to make that point. I mean, as far as I just want to understand that the housing authority did at one time consider putting a 225. It went through a process to get an exception for putting in high density residential in that specific location.
That is correct.
Okay.
But we did
Okay,
not, but again, it
that's-
did not, the actions required were never fully vetted or taken through the entire process. And ultimately that crash safety zone has is very restrictive in terms of the number of units that can be built, which is why the city is moving forward with disposition of the property.
Okay. The roadway hasn't moved. March hasn't gone away. If an exception could be had once before, it probably could be done again if there was a will to do that. So I just saying. And so I looked into 2040 general plan, and this property still is shown in the color for a corridor mixed use. The map LCC 2 of the 2040 plan. And I guess does staff concur that this piece of property is very close to a gateway to our city as designated in the general plan, specifically on map LCC 3?
It is in near proximity, yes.
Okay.
And that's why we pushed the developer very hard with the aesthetic design of the building.
And in the concept, this is as a concept area in the corridor plan. What are can you let us know what the permitted uses are in this for the master plan or for the general plan?
The general plan does not establish a specific list of uses. That is the responsibility of the zoning code and the business flex district that was ultimately zoning district that was adopted by this commission and the city council. And that does allow for the use as proposed.
The business flex does. I do agree. I looked that up in the municipal code. But the corridor mixed use that we just approved in the 2040 plan says permitted uses for this. I think I have the right color on this thing.
The zoning code is the implementation document of the general plan.
I guess I guess I just don't understand why we have a general plan then if we don't follow it. It says here, permitted uses include housing, retail, restaurants, personal services, public uses, and professional business offices. It doesn't say anything about warehouses or logistics or any of that along the corridor mixed use designation. Anyhow, as far as the traffic study, if the city is not recognizing that the project was a legit, the 225 unit multifamily affordable housing project, why is the mitigated negative deck with the traffic comparing the project now being proposed against the 225?
I'm going to defer that to our traffic division.
We did the traffic studies. We found out the traffic is very minimal to have impact on both State Street and Alexandra. We didn't compare, our traffic study didn't compare with the housing development.
And then could you look at table 5 of the traffic study by Urban Crossroads?
Yes.
Help me understand, then you have a comparison. It says right at the top, trip generation comparison. You have a residential R30, consistent with what the 225 affordable housing that was proposed previously on this project as compared to the proposed project.
Yes.
So what I guess I go back to my point that this project, this 8.43 acres owned by the city was originally proposed despite it being close to the, crash zone. I guess I don't understand why are we comparing that? It's not apples to apples if I understand what's being said here. That it was never, the 225 multifamily really wasn't a project because we didn't have a signed development agreement. But why are we using that as a comparison point?
We studied the traffic differently. This time we studied the warehouse, then we also generate the trip generation for the residential development.
So is R30 allowed at a business flex?
We did confirm the property, it does have a general plan designation of business flex. It is not corridor mixed use. So it is consistent with the general plan and zoning code are both consistent with one another.
I guess I guess my old eyes are getting, yeah. All right.
And business flex is defined and the designation provides for a range of business activities involving the production, distribution, or repair with supporting office, commercial spaces. Permitted uses include light manufacturing, research and development, warehousing, distribution, automotive service and repair, and other uses consistent with the applicable airport land use compatibility regulations. Corresponding zoning will be performance-based in order to promote flexibility, minimize non-conforming uses within existing uses.
I get it. You already have the business flex. I get that. You have an existing zoning that's in place. We adopt a 2040 general plan, and the general plan says it's corridor mixed use. You look at the graphics.
General plan identifies the property as business flex.
Yeah,
The
well,
land use table is business flex. That is map
I don't have the document.
LCC-4.
Which one?
LCC-4 is the general plan map.
Darn it, I only got to LCC3.
LCC3 is the land use framework, which was areas in which we were defining for study.
All right. Well, I guess all right, never mind. Then I don't want to deliberate while I'm asking questions. All right. So What is the distance from the parking lot to the backyard of these houses that are on the east and on the east side?
Approximately 86 feet. The building to the
Not
backyard.
the building, where there's going to be employees 24 hours a day doing different shifts coming out. What's the distance from a parking stall to the property line?
14 feet.
And I couldn't find in the traffic study. I saw the little chart. I apologize. I didn't get to spend a lot of time on this one. But I don't know what page this was. It was in the thing. It showed the little traffic, at the intersections. What is the one going to the north exit? I could not find that traffic in and out during AM peak and evening peak, and then what the total trip generation was.
Table 2 showing the AM peak total truck 7 and the PM peak total 8. For daily truck traffic 154.
I'm looking at, I just was curious. I'm assuming that no truck traffic is allowed except in and out off of Day Street. That's what I just heard from staff report.
That's correct.
So it's only employee parking of all these however many parking spaces are. They're either going to come out back onto Alessandra or they're going to come out to this street up here, which I don't know the name of, but Sherman. So what is the traffic coming in and out on Sherman? Above what the existing traffic is.
There is no analysis for the traffic in and out on Sherman. Basically, we did a traffic analysis for the driveway on Day Street, the truck traffic. There are no separate analysis for each driveway.
Okay, I think I have enough.
Any other commissioner questions for staff?
I do have one. When was the, is there any idea of where the existing R3 onto the east and to the north, were those pre-existing houses and then the business flex was put in zoning?
One more time, I'm sorry.
The residential that's to the east of this proposed project and to the north on Sherman, was that zoning or did the business flex zoning come in after those houses were already existing?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And what process did the city, if you know, what process did the city do to advise that this potential kind of development would be put into right next to their homes?
So again, the business flex designation is a new designation to the city that was created as part of the 2040 general plan. As part of the 2040 general plan, the city did extensive public outreach over a period of approximately 2 years, conducted multiple meetings of both subcommittees as well as meetings before this body, the city council, attended numerous public events, hosted flyers, different items that at different city facilities, as well as worked with private businesses to post notifications for these things. Additionally, there were presentations made within each of the council districts. Some had to be virtual because of COVID, unfortunately. But there were presentations made to the various districts, as well as presentations made early on in 2020 to the community at large. So there was extensive public outreach associated with the general plan update and the associated zoning code update that was done at the same time, as well as our climate action plan, housing element, etc.
How was this specific site designated though? Was there any trace that the 225 multifamily residential was still a viable project when it throughout this business flex, even though it hadn't been built? Because there is of record that was an approved entitlement.
There was an approved entitlement many years ago, and entitlements are only a viable entitlement for a short period of time.
Oh,
The
the
entitlement,
question-
the entitlement that we have this evening is, if approved, has a conditional length of 3 years.
But the question is, during the presentations when the general plan was going through, there is still specificity on that 8.43 acres that it is city-owned property, and was it designated already as a residential, even though the whole area, it would have been if it would have gone residential, it would have been a legal but non-conforming. I guess that's the new term that I've learned in the last few meetings. But if the overall lay of the land in that area went to business flex, could a person that didn't show up go, oh, well, that already was approved as a 225, the boat's already out to sea. I don't have to worry about a big box coming right next to my house.
No, because the entitlements were expired.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other commissioner questions for staff? Okay, where are we at here? At this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Hello, good evening. My name is Larry Cochran, and I am with LDC Industrial Realty. And I'm very excited to develop this building in Moreno Valley. We've been working hard with staff. We appreciate all the hard work that the city's done and their staff. And we're excited to build this building with the skilled labor you see here tonight representing us. And now I'd like to hand it off to Tracy Zen.
All right, good evening, commissioners. Tracy Zinn. I'm going to answer a lot of questions that were asked, so feel free to interrupt me during my comments if you have any more questions so we can make sure that they're fully answered. All right, I wanted to just highlight a couple of design features that were taken into pretty serious consideration when the project was designed. And the first is along the eastern edge, which is one of the items that was discussed. So this is the specific design along the eastern edge. So the building will be about 44 feet tall. If you can see it, there's like a faint dashed line. That's the existing topography of the property. So when the project's graded, it will be graded down. So the new elevation, the finished floor elevation, will be lower than the existing ground. There'll be some landscaping up against the building and a drive aisle for passenger vehicles only. Then there'll be like maybe a 3-foot retaining wall at the curb, a landscape slope up with a row of trees on the top. The existing residence there's a commercial facility at the corner, but then there's a couple houses to the north. There'll be a row of trees there. There's fencing. It's a combination of materials right now, and the applicant will install an 8-foot tall wall, solid wall, up against the existing fence. If those residents ever wanted to take their fence down and just have the wall, that would be fine too. It would be up to them. And then also the pavement slopes down a little bit so that the drainage goes towards the building and away from the east property line. So again, that drive aisle is only going to be for passenger vehicles. The driveway entrance off of Alessandro will be right in, right out only. And then passenger vehicles could also access that parking area from the north, from Sherman. There'll be no truck activity whatsoever on that side of the property. There are some questions asked about what how the truck driveway would be designed. So the truck driveway would be on Day Street. It would be for trucks only. And there was a lot of thought put into the design of this driveway to make sure that the movement of trucks is only from Alessandro. So first, there is a pork chop design in the middle of that driveway. That will discourage any vehicles coming from the north because they would not be able, physically would not be able to make a left in. So all the trucks would be coming north from Alessandro. The truck entrance driveway is 31 feet wide to encourage the trucks to enter there. And then the exit driveway is purposefully narrow. It's only 20 feet wide. And there's a curb on the north side that would physically prevent trucks from turning north towards Sherman. So they would need to turn left, and there would be a sign at the driveway as well, instructing all trucks to turn left. Again, the trucks would be welcomed into the site by right-hand turn and then exit left. Staff already mentioned the architecture, just a couple of features. So again, the building's 44 feet high. It has a varied roof line, wood siding, color changes, complete screening of the truck court. All of the truck activity would be screened behind the wall. This is a rendering from the corner of Alessandro and Day Street. The project also is going to be making improvements along the frontage roads. They'll be paving Sherman, paving Day. They're a little torn up right now, so they will be improved. New sidewalk. Alessandro will be widened along the project frontage. New 10-foot sidewalk installed, as well as landscaping along the streets. This is a rendering from Sherman and Day. So just a very nice looking building. As staff mentioned, it is recognized that, this is, an area where there's going to be public visibility of the building. The architecture is very much enhanced over, what you would typically see just on a standard issue warehouse building. I wanted to mention a couple of other items. So the applicant is committed during the construction process that all of the construction equipment will be CARB Tier 4 interim or better. The building will be designed equivalent to LEED Silver standards. Also, there's a water pressure issue in this area. The applicant has also agreed to build a new water pump and backup generator for Box Springs water. That is going to improve the deficient water pressure in this area, not only for this property, but for the district as well, for other properties in the area. The project's installing new public storm drain, more than 2,000 feet. It's going to run beneath Sherman, Day, Alessandro, go over the old 215 frontage road, and it's also going to reduce flooding problems in the area for the community, as well as improve traffic safety because the roads won't have the flooding issues they have now. There's going to be 3 streetlights installed along Sherman, 3 streetlights on Alessandro, relocation of a streetlight on Day. And there's a lot of public improvements occurring because this property is bound by 3 public streets. I think I'll end my comments there, but we're available to answer any questions. And the applicant is, looking forward to answering your questions. We want to make sure that this project is welcoming in the community and is able to bring as many benefits as it can. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner questions of the applicant?
I do. Oh, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I just as far as the Box Springs Mutual Water Company, what is the fire flow requirement for this structure?
Oh, I'm not an engineer, so I can't answer that one.
Rock Springs Water District is here tonight. Will you be speaking soon?
Right, because they have limited tankage and they have limited wells. So I personally I work for a water district, and we're having to. They typically have a higher fire flow requirement than but I don't know for this size. What's it, 0.16 in million square feet, or you have like 160,000? Is that
correct? I was going to.
I can, what I'd like, with regard to fire flow, we do have our assistant fire marshal here to identify that, or to address that question.
What do you know what the fire flow requirement will be?
Yes, sir. It's going to be 4,000 gallons per minute at a 4-hour duration at the 20 psi residual pressure.
All right, so that's not. They has to have 960,000 gallons of volume. That's beyond just the storage. Has to have 960,000 gallons of fire flow storage in a tank somewhere. I don't know if it's been a while since I've done anything in Box Springs, but anyhow, that would be a concern to me that they even have the tank volume to handle a max day, their current max day plus a 960,000 gallon fire flow requirement for storage only, not just the pressure.
So one note is this project will not be able to be constructed until ultimately Box Springs and the applicant and our fire marshal go through plan check review on these to confirm that those fire flow levels are met. And again, the Box Springs is, as the applicant just noted, our representative from Box Springs is here and hopefully can address that when they have their time at the dais.
Is there, why was the traffic analysis not inclusive of determining the in and out at Sherman?
Usually, I mean, passenger driveways aren't always analyzed if they're not at a signalized intersection. So there's very low traffic volume. There's no potential for a traffic impact per se. So the city did not require the analysis of the driveways.
What's the employee count?
There's no tenant identified, so there's no employee count. I do have an answer
If you
for
lived
you.
across the street, you'd be concerned about it if you couldn't get in and out of your driveway.
Yeah, the peak hour trips are about, I think, 30 in the peak hour. So it's a pretty low number. And then to answer your question about the residential comparison, because it's city-owned property, this applicant has been through in the application process for a long time, even before the general plan amendment or general plan update was done. So when that traffic report was prepared, the city was asking for a comparison, also just as information source for planning purposes. When the land use designation was changed, that comparison then became no longer relevant when the general plan update was approved. So it's not relied upon in the environmental analysis at all. It was provided for information purposes very early on in the process.
Did you provide background on what I forget where I read, but there's concern. I think I was reading a newspaper article that there are challenges to other EIRs that have been going in the city on the air pollution, greenhouse gas, and so forth, that the city's been using dated modeling and data to use as a basis to support new project air quality analysis. What basis did you use for this project, or was done? Apparently there wasn't an EIR done, but was there some the air quality study?
Yes, there's an air quality study attached to the MND. CaliMod was the computer model that was run, which is the model that's widely accepted industry-wide, statewide.
And what was the outcome of that?
All the impacts are less than significant and fairly far below the significance thresholds.
How many trucks are we adding? What's the anticipated truck?
110 per day, which that's an in and out, so 55 trucks per day.
So, and we don't have an employee. Is this going to be a point of sale where there's actually going to be transactional, where the city generates tax revenue from points of sale?
There's no user identified at this point.
All the questions.
Any other questions of the applicant or staff?
I'd be interested to hear from Box Springs, to hear how they're going to provide the fire flow.
So ultimately, that would be more appropriate during the public comment section,
Oh,
as
okay.
they are
Right.
not, as they
I'm
are
sorry.
not a representative of the applicant team.
Well, oh, that's right. He's not an applicant.
He's not out.
Gotcha. All right. My apologies.
Okay. Well, with that said, would he have to put in a speaker request in order to speak or to?
They already did.
Oh, all right, beautiful. Okay. All right. So, if there aren't any other commissioner questions of the applicant or staff at this time, we'll now open up public testimony. Are there any speakers?
Yes, we have 9 speakers.
Media, if we could please switch back to the other screen.
So the first speaker is Ernesto Sobrino. Yes, sorry.
Good evening, Planning Commission staff and community. My name is Ernesto Sarabia, and I'm a father, student of life, community member, and resident of Moreno Valley for 9 years. I'm here to share my input on public hearing PH3 Moreno Valley Business Center project, a proposal to approve the development of a 164,187 square foot light industrial building. After reviewing information pertaining to the proposed project, I would like to state very clearly that I am vehemently and totally against it, and I strongly encourage you all to oppose the proposed Moreno Valley Business Center project as well. Did you know that Riverside County is ranked as having the second worst air pollution in all of the United States? I know we as humans have a tough time believing in things we can't see. So I went online and took this excerpt from a KCT article. It states, on Thursday, April 21st, the American Lung Association released its annual State of the Air report. Once again, San Bernardino and Riverside counties ranked first and second, respectively, for the worst ozone pollution in the entire United States. The 2 counties also ranked in the top 10 for the worst annual particle pollution nationally, according to the report. Ozone or smog pollution forms when nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds from tailpipes, smokestacks, and other sources come into contact with sunlight. Particle pollution refers to a mix of tiny, often invisible solid and liquid airborne particles which are highly concentrated near busy traffic corridors, industrial areas, and in wildfire smoke. According to the ALA, both ozone and particle pollution can take a severe toll on a person's health, causing inflammation, shortness of breath, chest tightness, and damage to the airways, and can lead to asthma, cancer, and premature death. How bad is air quality in Southern California? It can be summed up in a few words, said Wayne Nastry, executive officer at the South Coast Air Quality Management District. We have the worst quality in the nation when it comes to ozone. Let that sink in for a second. And if that means nothing to you, I would seriously reconsider your own ability to continue to serve as public leaders and decision makers within our city or any city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Richard Lasario. Oh, my apologies. Janet Bernard.
Yeah, thank you. It's hard to pronounce. Bernabe. So whenever the timer's ready, I can go. Okay, so hi. Good evening, Planning Commission, staff, community. My name is Janet Bernabe. I'm the organizing director for the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. I am not a resident from Moreno Valley, but I have been a resident of the city of Paris for over 30 years. I have seen the influx and burden of warehouse that coming into our communities. I am here today to provide input on public hearing PH3 Moreno Valley Business Center project. After reviewing the pertain project, I would like to say that I'm opposing and against this project. And I thank Commissioner Smith for bringing up so many questions and pertaining this project. As we all know, this land is already zoning for homes. As stated before, as per the City of Moreno Valley General Plan, the project site is currently designated for R30 land uses. The primary purpose of the area designated R30 is provided a range of high-density multifamily family housing types. I passed through that section multiple times because I do shop in Moreno Valley. I might have my family here, my grandmother here. And seeing the area where it's going to be proposed at, we do have communities on the east side, as mentioned, and also on the north side. So a question is, I know I had mentioned before there was multiple meetings, but where are these meetings at being held and where are they posted at? All I saw was a sign that said a public action. Do these communities know that there's actually another warehouse or light industrial being brought to these communities? On the east side, yes, mentioned cars do park there. And of course, today I passed through there and wanting to stop by these communities to let them know about today's proposed project. But of course, this is a job of the city and the Planning Commission, of course, the developer, to make sure that they are reaching out to communities that might not even know that this project is coming into effect. On overall, the viral screen exposures of the ozone is 99 in that particular, is census tract. Particular matter, which is 64, diesel part matter 64, pollution burden 95. And then overall, just knowing the for sensitive populations, asthma 69, low birth weight 94, and cardiovascular disease 85. So that shows a lot that community is already affected from other things that have been going on in their communities. And adding another layer of a warehouse, that's going to detriment their overall health as it is. And we all know, COVID is not gone. The numbers are spiking once again. So we also have to take that into account. We're putting that community at risk to be able to not be able to combat something else like COVID that's going to be able to affect them. And overall, I'm here today that the city of Moreno Valley has failed to address the cumulative impact, health risk assessment, and public safety in the proposed project and its general plan. So we want to make sure, and I ask and I urge those in the commission today. Once again, my name is Janet, and I strongly oppose this project, and I hope you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Richard Lizardio.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners, and staff for the work you've done and the work you will continue to do on this project. My name is Richard Lisario. I'm a third-generation union member. I've been in the construction industry for 37 years. I've worked for a few decades on industries, the housing industry, the apartment industry, the condominium industry, and now the industry is e-commerce, tilt-ups, buildings that everybody in this room has bought something and has been mailed to them. And it's going to continue. It's happening in Arizona, New Mexico. Our union members take pride in what we build. I'm that guy that drives by something and says, I worked on that, I built that, I worked on that. These projects are going to continue to be built. This one's going to be built union with my union brothers and sisters. I'm here speaking on the union brothers and sisters that can't be here right now because they have to get up early and go to work tomorrow somewhere else. So I hope you pass this project, help it move forward, because when we get onto a job the first day, we're already working on the next job because we're going to work. That job's going to be done. We have to go somewhere else. It might be 1 week, 9 months, or 2 years. So these projects are a lifeline for my union brothers and sisters. And I hope you can approve this project and move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Fred Balo.
Close enough. Hello, everybody. So I come to these meetings to learn about things. I'm learning that every warehouse is based on its own merits. I'll start off saying, you know, I'm concerned with the roads, concerned with the smog. I get that labor's here because they want work, you know. So I'm kind of realizing now with this one we'll talk about is you get some of these developers that I guess they'll bribe the city or bribe me in a way that, hey, I want to build it. Somebody's going to bribe us with a park. Okay. For me, I would say, you know what, if you want to build it in my backyard, bribe me with providing security for our kids to protect them at our schools. Do something along that way. Start thinking about that. I'm just planting the seed and get me somebody that will shoot back at the bad guy. The other thing is these buildings, I don't know if this can be done and how this works, but you know, you're taking a lot of my view away when you build. And is there any chance that I can go on top of this roof, you know, and you guys build something on there to compromise, to make me happy that I can get up on your roof and the warehouses, right? See things, you know, is there something, you know, I don't know about a park or something that I can get up there high to see everything, you know, because it seems like the last guy that was talking to me, these warehouses are coming. I'm guilty. I buy stuff and it comes to me in the mail, you know, so I don't know what else to do. It's just, warehouses are here. I don't like them because they tear up my roads. Do something with the roads, get them fixed. That's all I got to say for today. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Julie Liu.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Julie, and I'm a proud union carpenter, highly involved in volunteering for Riverside County with Local 951. I'm here in support of the Moreno Valley Business Center project. We as carpenters on average drive 3 to 5 hours a day to and from work, traveling a lot of times to LA. And it would be really nice to be able to work close to home in order to save gas in this tough economy and have time to spend with our families. I believe that we had the opportunity to build more projects in our city. We as citizens would take more pride and take better care of our city. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Marco Gutierrez.
It's Mauricio Garavito. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mauricio Garavito. I'm a proud member of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters, and more specifically Local 951, which is down the street from here. I am here tonight in support of the Moreno Valley Business Center. As you can see tonight, we have a lot of members that are residents of this community. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't have the opportunity to work here, and we spend a lot of hours doing commute, like my sister mentioned before me. Just in the way that we spend a lot of our money, we invest it here, spend it here in the city of Moreno Valley. We would like the opportunity to also work here and build this city, feel proud about it, you know, because we can say, I built that and I am here helping my community grow. So, Commissioners, if you support this project, you will be providing the opportunity for your residents to earn better wages and better benefits, and also to allow the families to spend more quality time together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Natalie Ortiz.
Hello, my name is Natalie Ortiz, and I'm against this project, and I encourage you all to oppose this project. The industrial development being proposed to be built is in proximity to sensitive receptors, such as private residences. In the MND tables 8 through 11 presents noise level data at 200 feet away from the project site, when there are sensitive receptors that border the project site which sit less than 20 feet away. I'm concerned with this noise impact analysis and its claim to be within the city's noise level compliance when sensitive receptors sit less than 20 feet away from the project's property lines. Once residents are exposed to noise levels above 70 decibels for a prolonged period of time, this will begin to damage their hearing. The noise associated with industrial facilities can be among their most intrusive impacts to nearby sensitive receptors. Activities such as unloading, diesel truck movement, air rooftop conditioning units can contribute substantial noise pollution. These impacts are exacerbated by the 24-hour, 7 days per week operation that will be conducted by this facility. Construction noise is often even greater than operational noise. Industrial buildings located near sensitive receptors expose community residents to noise pollution, traffic, and other environmental impacts they generate. Therefore, placing facilities away from these sensitive receptors will reduce those impacts. And per the California Air Resource Board guidance, it's important to site industrial facilities so their property lines are at least 1,000 feet away from the property lines of the near sensitive receptors. The proposed project site will not work as there are sensitive receptors that will be affected by the noise pollution, and I am concerned with the noise impact analysis data in the MND, and if the project actually does comply with the City of Moreno Valley's operational noise levels due to its failure to adhere to CARB guidance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesus Garcia.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners, Chair. My name is Jose Garcia. I'm a 34 proud union member for La Una, the Laborers International Union of North America. I find myself a little confused tonight. The first two projects, 5 people put to work, pass it, square, round, fits, let's go. At the introduction of this product, it says it meets and exceeds. It's LEED certified. We got a great developer providing not only construction jobs at the beginning, but I thought I heard auto and all kinds of different opportunities for our kids to be able to get a job at after. We need jobs in our area. We need to keep people employed. And this job seems to meet everything. So I'm really confused how we went from yes, yes, yes to what's going on here? You know, this is a great thing. You guys talked about discriminating people coming with business to our community. Don't do it to this guy. He's doing all the right things. Please, please, I am so in favor of this project. The rules in California for electrification are coming faster than ever. The price of diesel ain't gonna lead us to more diesel. It's gonna lead us to electrification. And we are in a time of change. When I was a child, it was fun to go to church in the morning and then go to the mall. That's a thing of the past. Nobody does that no more. Everybody wants to order things. How do they expect they're gonna get them or where we are gonna store them? We have to build and adapt to those things. The Moreno Valley, the Inland Empire, it's the hub right now. You get the places where citrus is the hub, where marine is the hub. This is the hub, unfortunately. And I think we need to take advantage of it instead of frown on it, welcome it, make it work for us because it's a need that's not gonna go away. Nobody goes to retail no more. It's a dying thing. So we need to keep business and manufacturing in America. We need to stop supporting junk product causing traffic in our ocean. There's backlog of ships that, dropping anchors, pulling lines, dripping stuff, and nobody's seen that. None of these agencies that care about everything, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from other countries, and we shouldn't be supporting it. We should be trying to improve America. Thank you very much, and I hope that you push this project forward.
Thank you.
Mark Iverson.
All right, good evening. I'm Mark Iverson. I'm General Manager of Box Springs Mutual Water Company. We fully support this project. It's bringing us $2 million worth of improvements to our infrastructure. We're doubling our pump station capacity. We're providing a standby generator. This ensures that we can meet the 4,000 GPM fire flow. We have sufficient storage in our existing system at 500,000 gallons. About half of our water is provided through Western Water for blending purposes. So all that we've modeled this, we know that we can meet fire flow requirements. In addition, because this is for fire flow, overall the whole community will benefit because we will have better system pressures, more reliable system with these improvements. So we're comfortable that we're able to meet the demands now. Just so you know, currently our max day demand is about 600,000 gallons. But with our imported from Western, we're able to meet that. We currently have other projects in the works to add 1.5 million gallons of storage at our facility. We're also upgrading working to upgrade our connection with Western. So all this means we'll have a reliable system. We can meet the fire flow demands. And like I say, we fully support the project. It benefits us and the whole community. Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Roy Bleckett.
Isn't it fun to watch the sausage being made? Being a native of Edgemont and living here my entire life for the parts of 7 decades, this project can't get done fast enough. Now, my grandmother lived on Pepper Street, which would butt up against this for almost 5 decades, while the project or her property might be in probate. My question to Larry and the crew is, why didn't you take in the old gas station, laundromat, and the houses and make a 4-corner project and improve this whole area, like we did with the 215 project that this commission approved a couple of months ago? It was mentioned that this is a gateway to our city. This is going to be a fine project that's actually going to start making the gateway to the city look presentable. Not only, as Jose Garcia said, provides the jobs, let's start working for what's right for America. We look at this and I hear all the complaints coming up. You know, there's a certain amount of warehouse space that's going to be used, and there's going to be people that put stuff in it. We're just talking about where and who gets the benefits. If you want the benefits in your area, Edgemont, since the beginning of this city, has needed to been rebuilt. We got crooked out of the redevelopment money in '84. We got crooked out of it with the scheme they were trying to push on that apartment project, which was a ruse, and we knew it was never going to be built. We got ripped on this deal. Finally, something can be done. I hope that this planning commission will not stand in the way of rebuilding the area that not only needs it, that deserves it the most. We talk about equity and stuff. Well, let's look about the people that are deprived, the people that need it, the area that needs improvement. We got a chance to do it again. Improve the water district. Mr. Sims, you know about that. If you don't have projects like this, that water company is never going to make it. And we're going to be discussing this until we're looking at the roots of the grass. Let's deal honestly with this, pass this project, encourage more development in Edgemont, rebuild not only that area, let's rebuild Moreno Valley and America first.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers?
Not at this time.
At this time, would the applicant like to provide any additional information?
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate y'all. Good.
Well, that was additional. Thank you. Are there any other commissioner questions for staff? Okay.
applicant. Question. So being that this is right there, gateway to our city, who's going to be responsible for maintaining, graffiti, the brush out in front, making sure everything still looks good?
In the landscape setback areas, that'll be part of the landscape maintenance facility district, and we become a member of that upon, I think, our map. I'm not sure, I forget when we exactly become a member, but that's taken care of there. And then at the building line, we handle that ourselves.
Okay, so graffiti goes up within, it should be handled rather quickly.
Yeah, as soon as code enforcement lets us know or we see it, we get on it.
Okay, thank you. Staff, thank you, sir. So, something has to be built there. So what are the odds or where's the breakdown for residential housing there? Like where are the odds if this does not get approved and we push for residential housing, what's the odds of that coming to light?
Residential is not permitted in the business flex.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the applicant. And it may be just a moot point, but was it ever discussed about even one of the speakers, Mr. Bleckert had said about purchasing any of those homes? I did go over there.
Oh, yes, we've reached out to them and
Everybody wants to stay.
they're happy where they're at. They like it in
Especially
Moreno
with the
Valley, like
way
we all do.
housing is in California. Okay, I can understand that. I just was wondering that. So at least Roy knows they did reach out.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other commissioner questions, thoughts, concerns there? All right, well, at this time, we're going to close the public testimony and move into deliberations.
I'm going to talk to you because you know about the water. What he said, don't back it up, bud. What he said about the water, is that going to be insufficient for the project itself?
I just for full disclosure, Mr. Iverson, I worked at Western. I was the chief operating officer there for 25 years. So pretty familiar with that whole setup. And I can't, I'm starting to purge Western memories. That's 5 years ago. But I don't recall that there's an existing pipe that goes under the freeway to provide them mainly for water quality purposes for, I think it was nitrates that they have issues with in this to support their groundwater. I do not believe that the existing pipe under the freeway from Western, which would give them access to storage, actual volumes of water in a tank ready, is of diameter to be able to move a 4,000 GPM. Suffice to say, it sounds like the plan is they plan to use a pump which I personally wouldn't do, but I'm not general manager for Box Springs. So generally you like to have a fire flow in a tank there, not be reliant on a groundwater basin and a pump to pull the water out to meet the fire flow. You want the water already in the tank. That's typically what you want, but you can do that though. I mean, you can. I'm more conservative than that.
Okay. I guess.
We have storage in our tank.
Yeah, you said you had a 500,000 gallon tank, 4 hours for.
15,000 gallons. So we have enough capacity.
Since this is a public hearing,
We're in the
have to be on
deliberation
record.
stage. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think they know what they're doing, even though I did ask another expert about it.
Yeah, I'm not an expert.
But it's been 5 years, so who knows, a lot of things happen and change. The only thing I do like about this building, because a lot of the people in the city are tired of the warehouses, they just are just tired of it. But the thing is I did go over there. I did look at the area, and I know that the housing project is just, that's null and void. That's not going to happen. And this is a LEED silver building, which I, for a long time, have wanted the city to at least make some of these places that had come in, at least do that. A lot of people didn't like, I'll use Skechers as an example. That's gold LEED certified. Now, people should have taken a cue from that one. Now, maybe they're going to because of all the hullabaloo that's happening in the state. They have to start doing something. I mean, it's like that guy said. I mean, I'm guilty as charged. I'm constantly ordering online, constantly. I don't even go into I don't even care what it is. I ordered it. My kids call me the Amazon queen. But this one here, I feel is going to be an asset, not only to the area there, it's also going to be an asset to our city, because that end over there has been so bad, and it has been because of the water district, the infrastructure over there. Now they're starting to tie in, and we just had one on the old 215, and she's putting in a lot of lines in there. And, I think it's going to be a domino effect. And a lot of those people, I did get off. There's a lot of Hispanics in that area, and I did talk to a few. And now that I'm hearing that they're going to get good water pressure, that's a plus right there for them. If that gives them more water pressure and, helps a little bit with their infrastructure, because those houses, like I said, if they did want to purchase them from them, but, I mean, housing in California has just gone crazy. So this building, I am inclined to vote on it because I think it will help that area, and little by little it's going to start. I mean, I personally have been wanting the doggone Yum Yum donuts. Everybody's tired of hearing me with that. I'm back. 2 years and I'm back. It's across the street. So maybe they're waiting. They're just waiting for some of this infrastructure to be done. I mean, so basically I just think this one here will be an asset where, maybe some of the other ones didn't quite measure up, but I'm inclined to go for this one.
I'll take so I do want to compliment the design team on it. I think it is a fantastic look. I like the features of the building, the varied roof lines, and I think it's very nice. My whole issue with it is I'll back up. I remember first day I started working at Western Municipal Water District, and there was a bunch of Baker's boxes, and they go, "Hey, we got this relationship with Box Springs. Could you go look at that?" And anyhow, that ball's been picked up, put down, picked up, put down, picked up. I helped put in the pipes in Day Street, and there was a couple of other streets in there. Anyhow, long story short, it needs a lot of money and it needs a lot of help. I totally get that. It's not there was mismanagement in the past, as we all know. That was famously infamous. And then, but at the end of the day, it's also a shareholder. And so they're just never, we tried to form an assessment district at one point, and there wasn't enough assessed valuation at the time to support doing it. So anyhow, if you can get to work, God bless you. Money solves all problems, that kind of that thing. Anyhow, my issue with this project is not the design of the project. I think they've tried to be respectful, putting the truck traffic on the opposite side of the field. I have a real problem with putting industrial right next to homes. There's R3 designation to the east, there's R3 designation to the north. And, whether or not the city did outreach and whatnot, that, oh yeah, this is going to go to Business Flex. Guess what? And now it's Business Flex. And it just seems incompatible. And going, Bleckert says, well, yeah, this is a gateway and we need to do something. I don't disagree with that. But just think about when you drive up, this is just going to be, Alessandro will now be AKA Cactus Street. It's just going to be a wall and a tree. And that's what you're going to see. That's Moreno Valley. We're going to have that up Alessandro. We're already doing that. And I also remind you that we have 2,800 acres plus or minus of land in the world logistics that's approved. That's still there for plenty of places to have warehouses, Amazon, and the stuff that goes in these boxes. Most of it is not made in America. It's made in China or wherever, and it's brought in a box. It's, put into little boxes, and then it goes out. And so, and as far as the labor, I truly appreciate the union. That's the thing, but it's transient. They'll be here tonight. They'll be there to another place tomorrow. These things have to be built. I get that, but that's, to me, the people that live there, they deserve to have compatibility with the existing land use. And I don't see an industrial building next to residential being compatible. So I will vote no for this.
All right.
Well, while on my ranting along, Gomez Reyes, she tried to get AB 284 passed, in which it failed. So that's it. But the whole, I just can't believe that we can put our head in the sands anymore and say, even at the state level, they're finally starting to wake up that they need to have buffer between industrial to sensitive receptors. I'm not a Johnny environmental guy. I've never been. I voted yes for world logistics, so I cannot be a hypocrite. I voted for that, and I voted kind of along the lines that Bleckert said. If there's going to be warehouses, there's going to be warehouses. So if you're living in Inland Empire, there's going to be a warehouse, and you're going to see a truck, and but you want the truck bringing this stuff. So why don't we get it, Moreno Valley? That was my line of thought in 2013. Maybe I've evolved a little bit, but we've become saturated. I've looked at the land use. There 75% of the commercial industrial land in our city is designated for industrial boxes. And that's what we're going to have if we keep approving these things. Other cities in around our area are tapping the brakes and go, wait a minute, when's enough? We have 2,800 acres of this waiting.
What are we going to build there? We can't build the houses. The houses can't go in there.
Never is a long time. Never is a long time. That property, Edgemont is Edgemont. I understand that. Someday it will be something. It doesn't have to be boxes.
I talked to the residents and they didn't seem to have an issue with it. And not only that, you've got this dilapidated laundromat, and I don't know what it is, but the thing is, and they did try to purchase the land, but what I'm saying is this frontage on Alessandro is mostly all commercial anyway. Well, you're not going to have that because you've already got existing businesses there. This is a vacant lot.
That's what you got.
Wow. I understand the plight, and I do know the article with Senator Reyes, and that did fail. And had that happened, we probably wouldn't be able to even think about this one. I just thought that because they're trying to do everything right, and
there could be good projects, but not in the right place.
Commissioner Chin.
Thank you. Okay, so just real quick, thank you all the speakers. Really appreciate everyone coming out. I know this meeting's been long tonight, so appreciate that. And just real quick, because I know the union vote happens, they're out the door. So, just want to thank them for coming out real quick. And I know, the Redlands overpass widening. A couple months ago, there was a casualty, so we want to keep those in mind. And as they start getting back out there working, whether this project passes or not, just want to tell you guys to stay safe out there. All right. So I'm usually not one to talk about things I don't like. So I'm going to change that tonight. and talk about some of the things I don't like about this project. The fence separating the houses on Pepper and the cars there. I think it could be a little taller. If you put a basketball court in one of those backyards and they put it at regulation height, 10 feet, you're gonna have a lot of balls bouncing over that fence into those parking lots. And I think we want to make sure we take care of those communities. I know it's, minor things, but, and then cars coming out onto Sherman, I would rather see them all come out onto Alessandro, right onto a main street, and get on the freeway or go east in the city another way. That's what I'd like to see. Not that has happened. And then I understand the roads. The roads are going to get beat up with big rigs. We see it over on Hemlock. We see it different places, and I want to see those roads maintained at a level that is not going to affect the residents there. And so when I was running for city council, I live Ironwood, east of Paris. And, something I talked about was the warehouses on Ironwood and Hemlock and directly across street from houses. And that's something I was like, I don't know. I don't like it there. But in the 2 years that that they've been up, I haven't seen any problems with it. So I understand residents don't want it across the street, but we have a warehouse that was built right across the street, and I haven't seen any negativity coming from those residents. I haven't seen anything that would impact them. We have a nice warehouse, and I think that the design of this warehouse is going to improve the aesthetics of Alessandro. I don't think it's going to be built out like Cactus, because they have existing restaurants and existing businesses there on that same side. So I don't foresee it being a huge problem or turning into Cactus. And on the grand scheme of things, I don't see this warehouse as being excessively big. I understand, it's limited to that lot. And from what I see is it's on the smaller side. I understand that it's going to block some views. But looking on Sherman, I mean, a lot of those houses are not facing the warehouses. They're right. I mean, yeah, most of them aren't. So, it's, I don't see a lot of residents who are going to open their door and stare at a warehouse. And so I don't see too much wrong with this. There's things I'd like to see different, because, father of 4 boys, I know how balls go over fences. And, at the same time, baseball season is year round now. And those cars that are parked, 16 feet from that wall, we don't want those employees' cars to be damaged as well. Right. So there's just a couple things I'd like to see different, but, does it fit? It fits.
Chairman, can staff ask a question? We, at your permission, we can.
Okay. I'll defer to that.
So Vice Chair Chen just brought up 2 items: a 10-foot wall along the eastern property line, and also concerns with access onto Sherman. What staff would like for there to be a question of the applicant is if they would be willing to accept the 10-foot wall along the eastern property line, and if the entrance and exit on Sherman could be emergency only.
Thank you. I don't know if we're in a question and answering period.
You can ask the applicant if they would be willing to accept those two items as additional conditions.
Well, that question has been posed. Yeah, Matt, by all means, step up.
We accept those conditions.
Nice. Can I get the lottery numbers?
Pardon me?
No, never mind. Okay, well,
Oh, Chair, what I would ask is that if there is a motion to approve the project, that the motion just be to add both of those items as conditions of approval for staff to address, which would be the applicant shall provide a 10-foot wall along the eastern property line and emergency access. The driveway along Sherman Avenue will be emergency access only.
so is that, we'd have to mention that in the,
In adopt, if that you are taking an action to adopt the resolution for the plot plan, you would amend the conditions of approval to add those two items.
amend the conditions of approval. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And continue with deliberations. I hear the commissioners and I hear what you're saying, Sims, I do. I would look at that and being on that committee myself said that's a fallacy of us to put that type of a land use right there next to houses. I think we've also been through many projects where it kind of does kind of rub you the wrong way to put something like that next to houses. I definitely understand that. So that would be my concern because it's right next to houses. It's operating 24 hours. And then, I have other things I think about. Something's going to get built there. Even if it's an apartment, there's going to be construction and noise levels. It's an empty lot. So even if you put 225 units there, there will be construction. But I don't think we'd have too much concern and people would come in and say, well, it's going to cause people some decibel level problems or that sort of thing. Again, I'm only going to speak for myself and what I'm going to say here. I am the same with Commissioner Steffens. I push that button all the time. I'm Amazon. And, when you push that button, there's a lot of things that happen. There was a semi truck that put it on that truck and took it to the warehouse. Then the other got to get on the little truck and come to my house. And that all creates, and I push that button all the time. I push that button, boy, I tell you. And for me personally, not only do trucks create pollution, but cars create pollution. And me sitting here myself, and I'm only speaking for myself, I went out and bought an electric car. And many of us will talk about the pollution. We will talk about, and we want it to be somewhere else. Put it in somebody else's neighborhood. Put it in somebody else's house. And let's go outside from this meeting right now, and let's go jump in our pollution-causing car. So this is everybody else's problem, not ours. So for me, I stepped out and said, I'm going to do something about it and buy myself an electric car. And I'm going to step in and say, I am going to do something personally myself to help reduce the amount of carbon footprint in there. And many of us don't. Again, it's everybody else's problem. I grew up in the area. I lived on Day Street for many years, believe it or not, even with my youthful exterior here. I've actually been in the city 53 years. I said that out loud. So I welcome the change in the what used to be called Edgemont area, and welcome to see those areas built up. So thank you to the applicant. And I also we need local hire. We got to have that local hire. We got to have, think about that too. We got people getting in their cars and driving back and forth to Los Angeles, Riverside, and everything else. And that also creates pollution. So there's all types of arguments that we can use for pollution. But I would say this and encourage everyone else too. It's not everybody else's problem. It's our problem. And if we're that concerned about pollution, buy an electric car. So any other deliberations, or can we have a motion?
I know I'm on the short stick on this side, so that's, but yeah, I know, I don't, it's all for the good of the city. So it's, that's why there should be opinions on the thing. So all I can tell you is every morning I get up at 6 o'clock. Well, I get up and went earlier than that, but I'm on the road heading to Rubino to my little peaceful world. I have to do things. I sit on the road. It takes me 45. I watch all the trucks. I'm a full capitalist. I say if a person buys property, you should try to do whatever you want with the property. I have no problem with that. I just have a problem about community. I believe that there's a need for community and our positions as planning commissioners. The degradation of our city is happening, not just because of Moreno Valley, but the proliferation of logistics in the county area, the March JPA, the Paris, ours, and we haven't even started with our 2,800 acres with the World Logistics. So if you when you look at statistically, I know the mayor put out a thing on one of his little email clips that the median or the average household income is $93,000. The census data does not support that. The income is far less, and warehouse jobs are not generally considered a great job as far as supporting buying houses and things like that. All I say is at the end of the day, these kind of things, if this is progress, I guess this is what we're progressing to, is warehouses in our city, a saturation of them. But when you sit on the freeway and you cannot get out of Moreno Valley, and you sit there for 45 minutes sucking sucking diesel on the freeway, just every one of these we approve, we're doing that. And now as we bring them up Alessandro, trucks all the way up to Day Street, from the freeway to Day Street. All of this degrades incrementally, a little bit at a time, the quality and the ability to attract. And so we have this grandiose plan to build a nice big centralized at Nason and and all that. And we're going to have our big civic community area back there. How you going to get there if you're stuck in truck traffic on Alessandro? Or you're stuck on the 60, you got to zip over on it. It's just, at the end of the day, that's, suffice to say, my problem is this compatibility. It's right next to houses, and I find that distasteful for the residents that have a house there. So.
Well, the thing is that I know that what you're saying, because I hadn't been going out toward Beaumont, Banning and all that. And when I go out that way, it's
a total cluster.
Yeah. But this is the thing. We live here in Moreno Valley, and we have to do what's good for our city. And this project to me is something that's good for our city. Where, maybe we're going to be putting, I just think it's good for Edgemont. I think it's good for the infrastructure there. I think it's we can't put, it's been zoned already differently than what it was in 2009. So basically for our city, this little project, like Chen said, it's kind of like something good. I didn't sit on there for that World Logistic. So you're going to have to just, go home and just, but the thing is that's an approved project. It's coming in. This is going to happen, but hopefully he does the right thing too, and Bill's right. But this is what we're doing for our city. Beaumont, Banning, and everybody else, they don't even think of Moreno Valley. And all that pollution you're sucking in isn't really coming from Moreno Valley. Not all of it. No, but we're just dealing with this little project, you know what I mean? And to me, I just think we're getting a benefit out of this one. That's just how I feel. We're getting some sort of benefit out of this one. Some of those other ones, I don't think we got great benefits out of. And we should have looked, I didn't sit on some of that, but there were some of them, like I said before, we need to get some benefits out of them if we're even going to look at them right and approve them. we should be getting some benefits. This one here, I think we are getting some benefits. And as far as the residents, they even think they're getting benefits. I got off and talked to some of them people because I can speak Spanish, so I got off and talked to them and they're like, wow, you mean they're going to build this really nice building there? Their property values are going to shoot up. Have you seen those houses, Sims? You should go over there. It's a sad situation, really. And I shouldn't say that because it's their humble abode and they love that, where they live. And they actually see it as a benefit. They were like, yeah, okay. Well,
All right, yeah, I feel you. It's crowded. So I bought my ticket in my electric car and I can get in the carpool lane myself and go past everybody. And I don't sit in the and I don't sit in there sucking up air.
You feel good about your electric car.
I really do, because I go past everybody and I can sit in the carpool lane by myself. All right, so if we're done with deliberations, is there any motion? Don't. Mr. Blecker's going to make a motion over there. And with that motion, we cannot
Well, I can
forget.
make the motion. I know what the motion. I know how I'm going to vote, but I can still make the motion.
Okay, and don't forget the two additional 10-foot wall and emergency on Sherman.
I lost my paper. No, go ahead. Somebody else.
Oh.
Commissioner Sims, I'm sorry, but your mic's off.
I would, for voting purposes, I will make a motion that Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2022-33 and also adopt resolution number 2022-35 with amended conditions, adding the perimeter wall on east side to be 10 foot rather than 8 foot, and to make the exit onto Sherman as an emergency only.
I'll second it.
That's a motion by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner Stevens. Can we have a vote, please?
Commissioners Stefan, sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Sims?
No.
Vice Chairperson Chin?
Yes.
Chairperson DeJohnette?
Yes. So that a motion carries 3-1. Do we have a staff wrap up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee. If any appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council.
All right, the next item on the agenda is other commissioner business. And at this time, we have no items. The next item is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments at this time?
I have a couple, actually, for this evening. First, Commissioner Stefan, welcome back. Yum Yum is proceeding forward. I anticipated you may have a question on that because been staff for enough years that I've seen you come back around. So yes, Yum Yum is proceeding. Also, I just wanted to just take a moment out to introduce a few new faces that you probably haven't seen from staff. Next to me here is Mindy Davis. She is our new principal planner. She started with us a little over a month ago. Behind me, we have both Melissa Walker, who is our assistant public works director. And then we also have our assistant fire marshal, who you heard from this evening as well, Edgar Gonzalez. So we do have a number of new staff members on the team who you will be seeing from time to time, and we will make sure to get them all name plaques rather than them sitting behind their supervisors' name plaques as they are this evening. So we just wanted to welcome all of them, and Commissioner Stefan, back to the dais. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is planning commissioner comments. Are there any planning commissioner comments?
I'm tired. I've been at it since 4:30. So let's.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I concur and welcome Commissioner Stevens back in our fold. She's our newest, oldest member.
Wow.
And
Take that 2 ways.
2 ways. and to our new staff. If there aren't any other planning commissioner comments, I'd like to adjourn this planning commissioner meeting at 10:04 p.m.
Wow.
Like,
Good grief. Good grief. It wasn't for Steph and Steph.